UFC Paris is coming up in a few weeks, and today, guys, I have the full card breakdown for you with timestamps if you'd like to skip any part of the video. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. With these videos, like I said, timestamps are there if you'd like to skip any part of the video. We take every single fight. We dive into them as deep as they can possibly get. I am a fight fan who likes to bet. Unfortunately, I have been making these videos insanely early, and betting lines are not available for the vast majority of fights. So we're still going to be making our predictions. I'm going to be talking about underdogs if I believe there's any underdog or what the line's going to be. But regardless, for the most part, I'm going to be yapping about the fights. I'm going to be making predictions. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Let's get started from the early prelim and opener all the way down to the main event. And kicking off this card, we have Sam Patterson taking on Trey Waters. And this is one of many fights, guys, that I am just so excited to watch this card. This is one of the best fight night cards we've seen in a little while. So let's break these fighters down, okay? We'll start with Sam Patterson over here on the left. Sam Patterson, he is a tall guy for the division with decent power and a good reach, long arms. He has good boxing, but unfortunately he can be taken down. In saying that, though, he is decently active off of his back. He's constantly improving his game, getting more patient, and even, recently added a submission threat to his game. After most MMA fans were thinking that he got fraud checked or just was a fraud after losing to Neil Ashmoose, who is, in my opinion, by the way, a very underrated fighter, he bounced back in a really nice way, winning 3 straight coming into this bout, and most fights he's been looking better each time, I would say. He's in his prime, he's tall for the division, like I mentioned, and he looks like he has a bright future ahead of him. There's a lot of potential behind Sam Patterson, in my opinion, guys, but he's taking on Trey Waters, and Trey Waters is another very interesting fighter. Trey Waters, on the other hand, he is a little bit more simple to break down, I will say. He's a really fast striker, nice pop in his shots. Specifically, he has a really nice jab. He has a great chin. He has a ton of heart. Now, I was excited to see, or have been excited to see Trey perform in the UFC because I've been watching him since his LFA days, and he's a pretty fun fighter to watch. I have absolutely no idea why he's been so inactive. This is the first time that we're seeing him in over 2 years, but he's still won both of his UFC fights so far, and he looked pretty good doing so. So this is one of those things where, if you're looking at this from a betting perspective, I worry, and I would need to look into why exactly Trey Waters had the time off that he did, but Trey Waters seems like a pretty good fighter. I think that, if you were to look at the 2 fights that he's had so far, both against Josh Quinlan and Billy Ray Goff, Josh Quinlan, the win didn't exactly age so well, but Billy Ray Goff is an okay fighter. I think that Sam Patterson, in my opinion, has been getting better experience against, I don't want to say, it's anything, crazy of significance, but he's been looking good against some good competition. He's on a nice win streak over here. He's been improving every single time that we see him, and I think that it's more likely that Sam Patterson gets the job done. Trey Waters is a good fighter. He's a fun fighter, but I think he is, taking a little bit of a step up in competition over here. It's exciting because both guys, like I said, they're in their primes. They're big guys for the division. I'm excited. I'm very, very excited, man. Actually, Sam Patterson is going to be the shorter guy, which Trey Waters is also a pretty tall guy for the division then. I'm going to go with Sam Patterson. I like his well-roundedness. I like his rate of improvement, and I expect him to continue to have a good career. So again, Sam Patterson is going to be my pick for the first fight of the card. Now, guys, let's continue on up the card to another really, really fun and interesting fight. Honestly, guys, one of my most anticipated fights of this card. We have Ziam taking on Kaue Fernandes. 2 fighters that have been on a crazy, crazy improvement streak, okay? I'm excited to watch both these guys to see how they perform. We'll break down Ziam first. So, Ziam, he is a K1 kickboxing champion and a long striker who does a good job and likes to keep things at bay technically. He's slow-paced, he picks his shots, and he only throws when he's confident that he'll land. He wants to win on points pretty well every time. He can also fight up close too. He just doesn't prefer, and he wants to be outside your range. Lastly, he does have an issue defending takedowns, but that has been improving in recent times. He has been, like I said, on a very, very quiet win streak with hardcore fans paying a lot of attention to him. With each win he's been picking up, it makes me think that he has been improving from fight to fight. I have been watching him with the takeaways of just telling myself something along the lines of, hey, I think you underrated him. And now he just keeps winning, and I find myself saying all right, this dude's improving. This dude might be a problem. This dude's finding some excellent shots, and he's doing a good job performing. And he's just entering his prime too. Kaue Fernandes, on the other hand, we want to talk about this guy, okay? He is also an incredible and improving fighter who is a lengthy striker with good movement, leg kicks, and he does get decently creative when he's in the octagon. He does have a ground game, but he definitely prefers to fight a more technical striking match. Now, his kicks, especially his leg kicks, are his best strength. He's good at keeping range, attacking all parts of the body with very, very little telegraphing. He is coming off of his best performance yet against Guram Kutaladze, and I know that you guys are already going to get ready to talk about in the comment section about what a fraud that Guram is. That's kind of true. I understand, okay? But that doesn't take away from the absolute sensational performance that Kaue ended up putting on in that fight. The entire time, he stayed in perfect range, never stopped attacking. He destroyed his legs, then the rest of them, and on top of that, the takedown defense was on point too. The best part about it is that he just never stopped attacking in that fight, but he was he was safe with every single shot that he threw. If he has another performance like that, he is going to be a major problem for this division. And honestly, guys, I hope that's what we see, because he has not looked that good before, and this is coming from someone who was watching that Kaue Fernandes prior to him entering the UFC. I hope he's on track to become great, and I am so excited for this bout in general, because again, both guys are absolute surging contenders right now. Both guys want to break into the top 15. Both guys are in their primes, and both guys are in a point in their career right now where they have never looked better. I do believe that this is one of those fights that could go either way. I am going to go with Kaue Fernandes. It's hard because I get it was one performance where he's looked sensational. It was one performance. I'm kind of banking that guy is going to show up again and continue the momentum. If that guy in his last fight showed up, I believe that he will beat Ziam, but Ziam is also a very, very good and improving fighter. When it comes to who you should be betting on, I don't think that you should be betting on a winner. This is one of those types of fights where I actually like an over 1.5 because you have two really tough guys here. Really tough guys, really motivated guys, two guys that have been proving themselves among the level of talent that they've been fighting. Depending on what the odds are, this is something that I do like for an over 1.5 round. But both guys have been looking so good, man. For the sake of the video, I'm going to pick Kaue Fernandes, but this is, again, one of those fights that I can see going either way. Now, let's continue on, guys, to another really fun fight. We have William Gomis taking on Robert Ruchala, another fight that I'm very excited for. If you guys haven't been following the channel, you might know that I've been enjoying watching William Gomis fight, okay? We'll start talking about William Gomis over here. William Gomis is a well-rounded fighter. He can finish you from anywhere or just grind you to a decision. Sometimes William Gomis can get caught up trying to counter and then end up being low volume in bouts, but oddly, other times he can show up and just fight at a really, really nice pace. It's unfortunately tough to tell which version of William Gomis will show up, so either way, after going on an insane win streak against quality opponents, he shockingly, in my opinion, lost to Haider ML, which I didn't see coming. It was an amazing fight, and it was really close, and I thought that could have gone either way, but eventually, he just ended up fading to Haider's pressure, and while that was the first loss that he's had recently, I'm still high on William. I think he has a bright future. I think he's a great fighter. He's just entering his prime, and he's had great performances against, he's getting a lot of great experience with those fights as well. Excuse me if you can hear my notification. If that keeps coming, I'm going to mute my phone, but I'm still in the middle of Yap session, okay? Robert Ruchala, on the other hand, he is a new signing to the UFC, coming over from the KSW. He is a well-rounded fighter who does a good job making opponents not know what to expect. He can strike, he can grapple, he does a good job making you think of something he's about to make you think that you're going to get blasted just to shoot a takedown. On those, his timing is nice too. He has pretty good ground and pound on the ground, and on the feet, he isn't afraid to get flashy. He's a pretty scrappy guy in general, seems to be a good fighter. The issue with Robert, though, is the level of competition he's faced. It's unfortunately pretty mixed, okay? You have some good guys here and there, but absolutely nobody like William Gomis. So honestly, at this moment, when it comes to Robert Ruchala, it seems like he can have some promise to him, but in my opinion, he's still untested. I'm not too high over on the talent. Oh, excuse me, sorry about that, guys. I'm not too high on the talent over the KSW myself, but he isn't even in his prime yet. He's been looking good. I think that this is also a good signing to the UFC. When it comes to these two matching up, I am going to pick William Gomis to win. He's proven himself against competition that I'm not sure that Robert Ruchala would even beat if they ended up fighting guys. Guys, I'm still really, really high on Joinderson Brito, and I'm very impressed with what William Gomis did in that fight. It was just weird to me that he lost to Haider ML. It was just weird to me, but I think that he's still an improving fighter. He's in his prime. I'm high on the guy. Robert Ruchala certainly has some promise to him, but I think that he's getting fed to a wolf a little bit too early. So I'm going to pick William Gomis to get the job done in this bout. Now let's continue on over to the banger of the card, guys. We have Shauna Bannon taking on the Sam Hughes. I am excited to talk about this fight, okay? We'll talk about Shauna Bannon first. Shauna Bannon. She is a heavy pressure striker who is a little bit ahead of your typical WMMA fighter. She has decent technique and good volume. She's pretty durable in general, and she uses her lead leg like a jab sometimes. She can be taken down in fights, but if she is taken down, she's pretty active off of her back, and she does hit, like if she does end up hitting the ground, she is active. You can't always count on her to be technical, though. Sometimes she comes into fights and she just flat out looks sloppy. She also needs to change her approach because she is starting to be figured out with the lead leg blitz that she does. She also oversteps herself throwing a 4-punch combination. Her entire career to me is really weird because sometimes she looks good for the division and sometimes she doesn't. Like I said, she throws over herself in fights, you know? She's on a 2-fight win streak right now where even against like Alice Ardeline, who sucks, she won. She didn't look good in that bout. Then she had a decent performance against Pooja Tomar, which, in my opinion, also says nothing. She has skills, but you can't rely on her to perform. Like I said, her game plan's kind of been like figured out by any sort of like capable opponent, okay? But on the other hand, let's talk about 10-6 Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes is a big pressure, heavy striker with an okay wrestling game behind that. She can be worked and she can be outstriked in bouts, but where she shines is breaking people down using her cardio. Unlike we just talked about with Shauna Bannon, we know exactly where Sam Hughes fits inside the division. She's just a flat-out okay fighter. She'll beat any of frauds, but then she'll end up losing to anybody of like even a little bit of significance. Right now, she's on a 2-fight split decision win streak, and even then, like in those bouts, there's really nothing impressive to note, to be honest with you. So when I think about these two matching up, my gut says to pick Shauna Bannon because, like I said, Sam Hughes loses to people of significance, and Shauna Bannon is like a little bit there. She's like barely somewhat of significance, but you also can't count on Shauna Bannon to perform. I could actually see a world where Sam Hughes takes advantage of Shauna Bannon, you know, using the lead leg, throwing punches over herself and kind of toppling forward, and then getting a hold of her. I just see a world where Sam Hughes figures out Shauna Bannon. Here, you know what? We got to think about it this way too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Shauna Bannon's anything special, but the more marketable fighter typically loses. Kind of makes me want to go with Sam Hughes. You know what I was going to say? Like, okay, Shauna Bannon is, like I said, someone of a little bit of significance. The UFC probably wants her to win. She might edge a decision. But you have, like, someone who is, like, a little bit marketable versus Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes is going to be more motivated to win this. Sam Hughes has been winning her last 2 fights, but Sam Hughes hasn't been looking good in her last 2 fights. Ugh, I don't know. Tough fight. You know, I came into this prediction thinking that I was going to pick Shauna Bannon. She's a little bit more technical, but I'm actually going to go with Sam Hughes. A little bit of a gut pick over here. She's probably going to be stronger. And the marketability thing is very, very true. I'm picking Sam Hughes. I think she's going to get the job done. Let's keep going up the card, though, guys, to another fight that I think is a little bit more simple to break down over here, but it is still an exciting fight. We have Ourmar taking on Brendson Ribeiro. We'll break him down. Like I said, it'll be a little bit of a easier breakdown to do on both of these guys, and we'll start with Ourmar, okay? Ourmar is a well-rounded fighter who is a very dangerous finisher. He has great work, like both on the feet and on the ground. He's been in the UFC for a couple performances now, and really, in only one of them, he really shined, and looked great. I don't want to say shined, and that was against Da Woon-jung. He's in his prime now. He's coming off of his first loss, where even in that bout, really, nothing happened. He's looking to bounce back with a win here. Like, he's one of those guys, seems to have promise. He's fighting at home. Hopefully the UFC, I hope he gets the job done. Let's talk about Brendson Ribeiro on the other hand. Brendson Ribeiro is an offensive striker and grappler. He wants to come out. The dude just wants to absolutely take your head off. Sometimes, though, that can work against him because he can get caught moving forward. And the only other thing to note about the gorilla here is that while you can't count on it to happen, he has folded in the past. After snapping a losing streak, he went on to win 2 fights, and now, unfortunately, he's coming off of a really bad loss to Asmat Mirzakhanov. He's also in his prime, and he's looking to bounce back just like Sai is, and I think that this is good matchmaking by the UFC. I think it's a good test for Ourmar Sai because he's one of those guys that's being a little bit promotable over here, and you can't exactly count on Brendson Ribeiro to win, but he's also a little bit, I don't want to say an underrated fighter. He's just somebody that you can't really count out. Like I said, it was a little bit easy to break these guys down. I think this fight is a little bit easier to predict as well. I just think that Ourmar Sai is probably going to be better. I think that they're going to be on the feet. I think it's going to stay on the feet. I think Ourmar Sai is just going to be a better striker. I don't really have anything else to say beyond that, to be honest with you. I think it's a little bit more of a simple fight to break down. I'm going to pick Ourmar Sai to get the job done in this bout, guys. Let's keep going up the card to another very, very interesting bout. We have the return of Rinat Fakhretdinov taking on Andreas Gustafsson. 2 fighters that, again, are on a nice win streak over here, looking to put it together, looking to get a one-up on each other. I'm excited for this, guys. This is another really, really solid fight. We'll start with breaking down Rinat Fakhretdinov over here. Rinat Fakhretdinov is a fighter with great wrestling, and good submissions behind that wrestling game. Excuse me. Unfortunately, he can get tired in his bouts, but not usually. On the feet, he can be powerful, but too sloppy. He does have a weakness in his game in that he is susceptible to leg kicks. Now, people have been talking about Rinat here and there, and like all of the sudden, people have been talking about like he's just like not all that. And I think it's important to note, like, while I don't think he's championship material or anything, I think that a lot of people actually underrate his skill set. He's a good fighter, and he's been taking on some insanely tough guys. Like, he hasn't had the best performances, don't get me wrong, but he's been winning, and he's been doing so against pretty good competition, and he's been gaining a lot of experience in that octagon. Now, like I said, for some reason he's been popular, like kind of popular to hate on all of a sudden, and I don't know exactly why that is, but like one thing I do want to mention about the criticism is like there is something recently that we did learn about him though, and that was when he took on Carlos Leal. While that was a very short notice fight, okay, he had major issues because he had trouble finding his takedowns. He got like away with just his toughness and heart, and in my opinion, that was worrying to see. And as people who like to bet on the sport, I think it's important to pay attention to him if we happen to see something like that again. That could have been a 5 days notice problem or however long short notice it was, or it was an actual problem in his game. Regardless, he's a good fighter. We just need to pay attention if he's unable to find his takedowns, if he really does look that bad. Andreas Gustafsson, on the other hand, he's an aggressive striker with pretty good knockout power. He does a good job when he's at distance, and he has a good BJJ game to back that up. He's on a 4-fight win streak. He's been looking good. He's coming off of his UFC debut win against Chaos Williams, where in that fight, he took this on short notice. He was in shape. He had to cut weight a couple times. He still came on. He really put the pressure on Chaos and just had a good performance against him. He's another one of those guys that I am excited to see the future of. And again, excellent matchmaking by the UFC over here. I'm excited for both of these guys and both of their futures in this sport. This is tough. This is tough because I don't want to say I glazed Rinat Fakhretdinov here. Don't get me wrong. I was talking about how people have been underrating him, but I'm not so sure that he's going to win this fight. When I was talking about Rinat Fakhretdinov, guys, like I think it's important to know, like, again, I don't think that he's going to be champion. I don't think he's championship material or anything like that. I just think that people underrate him a little bit. This is another coin flip fight in my opinion, guys. Andreas Gustafsson certainly has some potential to him. I'm going to go with Rinat Fakhretdinov. A little bit of an experience edge. Maybe might be able to get the wrestling game going. But again, not a fight, in my opinion, that you should be betting on. Now let's keep going to guess what? Another really fun fight. We have Balaji Oki taking on Mason Jones, and I am excited to see Mason Jones continue performing in the UFC, guys. We'll break down the Zulu Warrior first, okay? Balaji Oki, he is a Muay Thai and kickboxing world champion. He's a good striker with huge power. He does a really good job controlling the pace in the octagon while remaining calm. He has strong, but unfortunately, like, kind of slowish jabs, and he's pretty methodical on the feet in general. Takedown defense is just okay. He has some good sprawls at times. Sometimes in the octagon, he kind of clowns around, which does leave him open to shots, and he already is hittable, especially when he can get caught up throwing, like, the looping shots that he likes to throw. He came into the UFC with a ton of hype, winning and having some good performances. Then he ran into his first loss against Chris Duncan, where he got submitted, but even in that submission loss, he still was having a good performance in that fight. He then bounced back in his most recent win against Michael Aswell, and he looked even better in that fight. He's in his prime. He's been looking good for the division, and I can't wait to see what he's going to be doing in the sport. Again, the UFC has been putting on some like really, really good fighters for this Paris card that they have. Looks like they want it to succeed. But let's talk about Mason Jones, okay? Mason Jones is a very well-rounded fighter with a complete skill set. He has good cardio, he has fight IQ, durability, heart, everything that you need in a fighter. He does a great job throwing a variety of shots and placing them at different targets. Love when strikers do that. He also has good decision-making through the entire bout. Now, he made a statement coming into the UFC debut against Jeremy Stephens, but it's not like a statement in how fighters typically make statements. Jeremy dragged him through a war, and he proved he can hang right in there. It was a fantastic fight. He showed all aspects of MMA. He has a ton of potential in the sport. He has a great record. He has a nice win streak. He's in his prime, and he's looking to continue that momentum. I am so excited for the potential of Mason Jones. I am so excited for this fight in general. Sorry, guys. I'm still getting used to my OBS settings over here. I just brought you over to my full face cam. But it's a good fight, man. It's a very, very good fight. I'm curious about what the odds will be on this one because, like I said, unfortunately, I recorded this video a little too early for the odds to drop. I'm going to go with Mason Jones. I was so impressed with the way that he just went through a dogfight. And even then, he's had good performances prior to coming into the UFC. I'm excited for him. It's just like, it's one of those guys that I can trust him to come in there and really fight his heart out. And I love that in a fighter. Along with a nice skill set, I think that he's going to beat Borralho. I'm picking Mason Jones to get the job done, guys. I like Mason Jones. I'm excited to watch him perform. I like Borralho too. He is a good fighter. I'm picking Mason Jones. And for some reason, my gut's saying like I'm a little bit confident in that pick, to be honest. Now, guys, as you might know, I talk a lot about betting on this sport. I make a lot of predictions on this fight. If you're interested to see what I am doing with my money each week, then you can check out the channel membership in the pinned comment description down below or right next to the subscribe button. Very cheap compared to other channels. Every single Friday or Saturday, Friday night or Saturday morning, depending on whether or not I want to bet any Friday fights, I'll be uploading a community members post along with a members only video talking about exactly what I'm doing with my money each week, what bets I'm placing. In the members only video, I'll explain like why I'm placing this bet, how I feel about the fighters. So if you're interested in either supporting the channel or again, seeing what I'm doing with my money, combine my fight knowledge with your own research, then check out the channel membership. Additionally, we do use a tool on the channel called OddsJam. If you'd like to sign up to OddsJam, you can get a discount for OddsJam in the pinned comment description down below using code Clenbat. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Let's get into the main card. And kicking off the main card, guys, we have a very, very fun fight. We have Patricio Pitbull being fairly active. He just fought Denis, 4 weeks ago at the time of recording this video. I knew it was very, very soon. But anyways, Patricio Pitbull taking on Ziam Kieta. I am excited for this fight, guys, and I'm excited to break it down. I'm excited to see what you guys think about this, okay? We'll talk about Patricio Pitbull first. Patricio Pitbull is a Muay Thai and BJJ fighter with a nice, well-rounded game. He has pretty crisp hands, nice low kicks, and he's good at mixing in his elbows and knees with his attacks. He also has great experience with very underrated talent. Unfortunately, now he is past his prime. He's a bit slower, and he's a bit more inactive in his bouts. And I always say when I talk about Patricio Pitbull that it's sad to see because we constantly see people coming in from other organizations, coming into the UFC, and getting murdered. Pitbull is not one of those guys. He's just old. I am confident in saying that a young Patricio Pitbull would perform very well at the top of the UFC. I don't know about champion, but he would perform, okay? Anyways, after losing his UFC debut, he managed to get a win over Denis, where, like I said, he won, but he didn't look so great. There wasn't really anything significant that happened in the bout with Denis, but he did prove a lot of us wrong, and he proved that he can hang with some good fighters in the UFC. He still fights decently. He's still a good fighter for being past his prime. He's just past his prime. He's 38 years old now, man, and it's sad to see. But let's talk about Ziam Kieta. He is a very fast and powerful striker who does a great job keeping power in his shots while keeping them fast. If you know what I'm talking about, like one of those guys who throws the shots, for the most part, he does do a good job keeping things technical. He can get caught up every once in a while looping his shots, though. Regardless, though, they're like whatever he throws, they're always powerful. He has nice timing, sharp counters, and is excellent at controlling the cage when he fights. Now, for those of you who don't know and haven't been following, or like for whether you're following the channel or not, you might have heard me talk about before how much I have been getting into Octagon over the past several months. I have been really, really, really enjoying the promotion. I've been watching a lot of fights, and Ziam is one of those guys that I have been watching perform. He is a great fighter. He's not even in his prime yet, or like just barely entering his prime. And in my opinion, the UFC picked up someone with a lot of potential. I'm excited to see how he performs in the big leagues because he's had some fun fights and he's had some fun performances. Now, this is another one of those cases where I'll say the same thing like I've been saying with Patricio Pitbull. I'd be having a very different conversation with you if this was a young version of Patricio Pitbull. But nothing that he's done in recent years has impressed me at all. Like, he's 37-8, guys. And this sucks, man, because I said the same thing about Aaron Pico coming into the UFC, and Aaron Pico still had a good performance. He's still a good fighter. People get so hyped up on, like, being hardcore, where it's like anybody coming into the UFC from another organization, they're like, oh, yeah, this guy is so good. This guy is so good. I've been honest about my assessment with these fighters. Like I just talked about, like Marcus Buchecha, I said to be careful. De Ridder was fighting against very unproven talent. I know a lot of these guys coming into the UFC, and I don't want to just, like, sound hardcore for you. But Pitbull, Pico, they're objectively good fighters. Unfortunately, Pico just took on a dog in his UFC debut, and Patricio Pitbull's old now. It's sad to see, and it doesn't really bother me because at the end of the day, it doesn't affect my life. I just feel bad for them because people are looking at these guys like they're frauds, but I'm like, dude, Pitbull's 38. I got a little bit off topic, though. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to pick against Pitbull again. I'm going to pick Ziam to get the job done. He's probably hungrier at this point. He's getting his shot in the big leagues at the UFC. He's been performing amazingly over an octagon. He's just entering his prime. I would imagine that he's going to beat Pitbull. Like I said, Pitbull, even in his win over Danny Ige, hasn't really done anything that made me go, whoa, okay, Pitbull still got it. He just showed that he's capable of winning. Kaite, on the other hand, I could very well see, like, maybe being a problem. I'm excited for this bout in general, man. I'm excited for this. I don't want to see either guy lose. I like both those guys. I like the idea of Kaite coming into the UFC. I want to see him succeed, but I also want to see Pitbull succeed. I'm a big fan of Bellator, so it's unfortunate, man. But I'm going to pick Ziam Kaite to get the job done in this bout. Continuing on up the card, guys, we have Brad Tavares taking on Robert Bryzchek. Another fight that is very, very fun matchmaking by the UFC, in my opinion. Let's talk about Brad Tavares first. Brad Tavares over here. He is a good striker who always wants to keep things on the feet. And he has excellent takedown defense behind his striking. He can hold his own on the ground if you find him there, and he has a lot of high-level experience in general. He's very tough. You can never count him out of a fight. Now, with Brad Tavares, I always have to mention this, okay? And this is important when you're talking about fights, okay? Don't let his record fool you. He's fought amazing competition throughout the years. He's coming into this fight at 21-10, and he has just faced about, like, everybody that you possibly could in this division. Now, unfortunately, Brad is almost 38 years old, and he has been showing signs in recent bouts of being past his prime. He's coming off of a nice win over, he's coming off of a win over GM3, but that fight went as expected. You put GM3 against someone with some of the best takedown defense in UFC history, and GM3's washed. Before that, though, he's taken on some great competition, but he has been losing fights. He's just unfortunately inconsistent, and he always has been. I always feel bad when we talk about Brad Tavares, man, because with a resume like that, the vast majority of fighters are bound to be inconsistent like him. He's underappreciated, that's all. But anyways, Robert Bryzchek, on the other hand, he is a pure boxer with good pressure and boxing fundamentals. He does a good job, and he takes his time during his fights. He has good power in his shots, and he has decent takedown defense to keep things on the feet. He just ended up losing his UFC debut to Ihor Potieria over a year and a half ago, where in that fight, Ihor was just pretty much like too much to handle, and unfortunately, he didn't really look good at all. I don't know why he's been out so long. Hopefully, he's been taking time to improve, and it wasn't an injury, because he has passed his prime now, and he has something that he needs to come in, and it's something that he needs to prove in this bout. So the UFC's kind of like throwing him a bone over here, because like I said, Brad Tavares hasn't been looking the best in recent bouts. I could see this one being a fight where Robert Bryzchek, succeeds in this bout, because we know that Brad Tavares isn't going to go for any takedowns, and Brad Tavares, like, I don't even really worry about Brad Tavares, like, having, like, the solid leg kicks anymore, you know? He isn't, he never really was too dangerous of a fighter, but I'm not looking at Brad Tavares and going, whoa, look out for this guy. Like, this guy was an animal back in the day. He was always a tough fight for people, and he still does bring it, but there's no danger to him. And I feel like in this fight, this is one of those bouts where Robert Bryzchek could just, come in and use his boxing like he likes to do, and he can box off Brad Tavares. But with being that heavy on your front leg, like a typical boxer is, if he comes in and isn't worried, like, he comes in with a boxing style, and he doesn't think about how heavy he's going to be on his front leg, I can see Brad Tavares chopping that down. But then again, I can see any MMA fighter doing that. He'll just have to be aware. And that's why I think it's a little bit of a tough fight, but I'm going to go with Robert to get the job done in this one. Brad Tavares will shine against a GM3, somebody who is a pure grappler, because he can't take the guy down. And I think this fight's going to remain on the feet. I'm going to pick Robert to win. But I think it's a little bit of a tough one to call there. With that being said, guys, let's keep going. We have Modestas Bukauskas taking on Paul Craig. Paul Craig's always had part of some fun performances, eh? There's always something crazy going on in his fights. But we'll talk about Paul Craig in a second. We'll talk about Modestas Bukauskas over here on the left first, okay? He is a good striker who typically focuses on countering with his striking, okay? He has great power, cardio, and submissions in his back pocket if he needs to use them. He has been putting together a really nice win streak, where his only recent loss was actually to Zach Pauga, where he won this fight. He was robbed really, really, really bad in that fight, but he bounced back with two really nice performances and got another win over Ion Cutelaba. He's quietly been winning, and it's exciting to see, because I'm excited to see what he's going to do next, because he should be on a very, very solid win streak. Like I said, bad robbery in that bout. Paul Craig, on the other hand, he doesn't exactly have the same win streak. Paul Craig is actually coming in on a losing streak over here. Paul's always easy to break down. He's a fighter who wants to get you to the ground. If he is able to get you to the ground, he is very dangerous. Other than that, though, he is unfortunately really not good at all. Okay? And there isn't much to mention with his record. He's lost 3 straight, looking horrible in each bout. And even like in his most recent performance against Rodolfo Bellato, it got called with an illegal upkick. In that fight, nothing also really happened. He's 38 years old at this point, or excuse me, almost 38 years old at this point, and he's unfortunately showing no signs of improvement. But in saying that, though, I've always liked Paul Craig. He has a fun personality. He has recently spoken about his newfound motivation, and I always like to cheer for Paul Craig. I know, like, a lot of people like to dog on him, and I always feel bad. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm disrespecting these fighters, but Paul Craig has never really done anything that's that great in the UFC. Well, I mean, people talk about being the lineal 205 champion, but it's honestly a little bit of a meme. But it's like, he's one of those guys that you can't count out. Like, he submitted Magomed Ankalaev. He's always dangerous if the fight ends up hitting the ground. But, like, his stand-up's just so bad. And again, I don't want to be disrespectful because I actually really, really like Paul Craig. I like him. I hope he wins. I'll be cheering for him in this bout. But I can't pick him. I can't pick him against Modestas Bukauskas. He's looked too good. He's probably going to keep things on the feet, and Paul Craig doesn't even have good takedowns. He would need to get knocked down for Modestas Bukauskas to be dumb enough to, like, jump on top of him and start throwing shots. If Paul Craig, like, doesn't fall on his back and find a submission, Paul Craig isn't going to win the fight. And, like, I know he's had performances like the Andre Muniz fight. I know, but I don't know. Like, you can't... We've seen Paul Craig enough to know what's going to come. I hope he wins. I really, really, really hope he wins because, again, I like Paul Craig. And I feel bad saying that because I do like Paul Craig. But I think Modestas Bukauskas is probably going to kill him, and that's the proper prediction to have for anybody breaking these fights down. Now, guys, let's continue on up to the featured fight. We have Marcin Tybura taking on another new UFC signing in Ante Delija, Walking Trouble. Let's break these two fighters down, okay? Marcin Tybura, 27-9 at this point, is a well-rounded fighter compared to the division with a lot of experience. His striking is decent with good wrestling and good top pressure. He's pretty light and fast for the division, which it does a good job helping him get underneath people. When he decides to ground and pound, it's incredible, but he doesn't always do that. He can grind out wins just holding people, and he's still winning at 40 years old, man. He's still having good performances, but he's been having both wins and losses. It hasn't been a perfect run, but he absolutely still has a ton of fight in him. Right now, he's on a 2-fight win streak, but in his most recent fight, in my opinion, it was a very bad robbery against McParkin, where I think he did lose this fight. So he's always been like a win one, lose one type of fighter, but again, he's not a guy that you can count out. I really like the work that he's been putting in at heavyweight. He's a very underrated fighter, okay? Now, he's taking on Ante Delija, who is a powerful, well-rounded fighter who looks to really hurt opponents with every single shot that he throws. You know when you see those guys and they just he wants to really hurt people? It's one of those guys. He has good power in his hands, good killer instinct, and does a good job mixing things up. He is another, did I mention he's a new UFC signing? He's another UFC signing. He spent a lot of time over in PFL, and he has performed well in the PFL. In my opinion, he is another good signing, and I'm excited to see him perform. Unfortunately, he's slightly past his prime, but he still has been looking good in his fights. He's one of those guys that you really need the new talent at heavyweight. You need people to come in for this bout. I just see, you know what, guys? I just see a world where the UFC gets a brand new heavyweight signing. Ante Delija, he's been having some good performances. He's a good fighter. Looks to really want to hurt people in that octagon. Just for Marcin Tybura to take him down and just grind him away. That's what my gut's telling me, okay? Dude, that's probably going to happen. Yeah, it is going to happen, isn't it? It's never like the more promotable guy in this scenario. You need something really special. I don't think Ante Delija is going to be all that special. He has potential. I can see a world where he wins this fight, but what I do think is most likely to happen is for Marcin Tybura to get underneath him, take him down, either grind him out or let go of the ground and pound. I'm going to pick Marcin Tybura to get the job done, but it is another low-confidence pick of mine. Now, guys, before we talk about both the co-main and the main event, let me stop you for just one more time. As you might know, I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. If you are interested in my commentary content, if you happen to like me, if you want some background content, I run multiple channels that we upload on every single day. Check out the link tree at the top of the description or the direct links to all those channels within the description down below. We've been seeing some bleed over from the communities, and it has been amazing to see. So for those of you who've been giving other channels a chance, I appreciate you. It's been fun seeing some of your names over there, but regardless, I appreciate your time watching this really long video, even if you skip to this part. But then again, why would you skip over to this part and you wouldn't skip to the co-main event? Let's talk about the co-main event, guys. Thank you for listening. And guys, this co-main event, it is an excellent fight. I am beyond excited for this entire card, guys. We have Benoit Saint Denis taking on Mauricio Rufy, a Fighting Nerds fighter. They've been on an absolute roll. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in the main event, okay? Let's start with Benoit Saint Denis, though. God of War. Benoit Saint Denis is a well-rounded and dangerous fighter who looks to, like, in the octagon, really hurt and make his opponent suffer. He's one of those violent guys who has absolutely no problem throwing himself in there to get the win. Technically, he's pretty good. He's also really good in the pocket. He has really nice body kicks, clinch work, submissions. The guy can honestly do it all when he's in that octagon. He's really good at making his opponents worry about what's coming next because he is so good at mixing things up. The only issue, unfortunately, is because that he has no problem throwing himself into a firefight, he is open to being caught. And we've seen that before, okay? He's one of those guys, and I want to talk about this for a second, okay? He's one of those guys, like I was just talking about with Rinat Fakhretdinov, where, in my opinion, I think people are writing him off way too quickly. Now, don't take me out of context, just like I was talking about. I'm not saying the guy is going to be a champion, but I still do think he is a very good fighter, okay? People look at 2 losses and are completely writing this dude off. First off, coming into the UFC, and we're all ignoring this, okay? He murdered everybody in his way. He also ran into Dustin Poirier, who he was also murdering, by the way, but he faded. He likely had staph infection, then got caught with a shot in a fight that he was winning. The problem came when he took on Renato Moicano, because this is where he got completely destroyed, okay? And if you guys watched that fight, destroyed is an understatement, okay? But that was one tough fight. That was one fight. Things happen. Guys don't show up. Guys get injured. Sometimes guys aren't able to put things together against particular opponents, and sometimes other opponents have people's numbers. My point is, I think it's way too soon to write Benoit Saint Denis completely off. He's still in his prime. He's almost 30 years old. He bounced back with a free win by the UFC, and he's taking on a searching contender in another really tough fight. Like, even if he loses this fight, he lost to a pretty good fighter. I think people are writing him off. But anyways, he's taking on Mauricio Rufy. Mauricio Rufy is that tough fight that we were just talking about, and he's looking to continue the momentum that he's put together. Mauricio Rufy is a fighting nerds fighter who is a very powerful and creative striker with great distance management in the octagon. He isn't afraid to be creative. He has takedowns in his back pocket if he needs them, and when this dude smells blood, he is very dangerous. Now, Joe Rogan mentioned something that I never thought of until, like, now that I've been talking about it in these videos. He moves like a prime Conor McGregor. Now, he's correct, okay? Unfortunately, unlike prime Conor McGregor, he does slow down big time after round 2, and he clowns around trying to look cool sometimes when he could get a finish. One day, those things will be an issue. Unlike Benoit Saint Denis, though, he hasn't nearly fought the same level of competition, okay? He's been looking insanely good, and he's been getting some really nice wins and flawless performances here and there, okay? But he's still unproven against significant talent, in my opinion. He's in his prime. He is on a great win streak, and he's looking to also continue that momentum like we've been talking about with some fighters over here. He's looking to continue that momentum of the Fighting Nerds gym. They've all been looking really, really good, man. You know how I just talked about, like, those things will catch up to Mauricio Rufy one day? If he's clowning around, if he slows down. I don't really think that he's going to have to worry about that against Benoit Saint Denis. And I imagine, like, there's no lines at the time of recording this video. I imagine Mauricio Rufy is going to be a ridiculous favorite. I think that Benoit Saint Denis still got it. I think that Benoit Saint Denis is absolutely still capable of winning. But I can't not pick Mauricio Rufy. These Fighting Nerds have been so good, man. They've been incredible. They've been on an incredible run. I don't know what the hell they're doing in that gym, but they are consistently making each other better, and that's been evident. I think they're all great. I think Mauricio Rufy is great. I think he's going to beat Benoit Saint Denis. I think he's probably going to clip him at some point. I just think he's good. Very elusive out there, in his prime, riding high. And it sucks to see because Benoit Saint Denis is probably going to lose in France. Well, not probably. I think that Benoit Saint Denis certainly has potential. I'm not saying Mauricio Rufy is a lock or anything. I just think that he's going to win. I think he's going to be too fast, too crisp for Benoit, and he's going to kind of clip him and maybe finish him. So my pick again is going to be Mauricio Rufy to get the job done. But again, I think that people are writing off Benoit Saint Denis a little bit too early, guys. Now let's move on to this incredible main event, a fight that I have been excited to see for a very long time. We have Nassourdine Imavov taking on Caio Borralho. I'm interested to see if the winner for this is going to get the next middleweight title shot, or if it's going to be the winner of Anthony Hernandez and Reinier de Ridder. I personally think the winner of this fight deserves it more. But man, maybe it'll be whoever's ready. But let's break these fighters down, okay? Let's start with Nassourdine Imavov, the sniper. He's shockingly easy to break down, in my opinion, okay? Nassourdine Imavov is a precise striker with really nice movement. He has a strong clinch and great ground game behind that as well. The guy is flat out just well-rounded. And he's put a really, really insane win streak together, racking up nice wins against absolutely top talent in the division, and he is coming off of a beautiful win over Israel Adesanya, which you don't hear often. He's in his prime, he's fighting at home, and he's looking to take away the momentum of another Fighting Nerds fighter while continuing his own momentum. Now, just talking about the Fighting Nerds, we have one of the 4 main Fighting Nerds in Caio the Natural Borralho. Caio Borralho, like I mentioned, he's one of those Fighting Nerds guys along with Mauricio Rufi, who we just spoke about. He is a very well-rounded fighter, but primarily known for his judo and BJJ. He's a fantastic grappler with great submissions. He has well-timed, very nice and powerful takedowns behind that as well. On the feet, the dude's very calculated. He has great movement, power, pressure, calf kicks. He also has great cardio behind all that. Now, he does have weird striking defense, I will say, because it's good for the most part, but he has a bad habit of dropping his right hand, leaving him open for like a left hook or an overhand. Unlike Nassourdine, his competition level, it's good, but it could be better. But it isn't like, again, don't get me wrong, it's not bad or anything. He's been racking up some wins against some nice talent and looking good doing so, okay? The only reason that I wanted to mention that is because if you were to compare the records of both Nassourdine and Caio, Nassourdine's is much more impressive, and he's been beating some good guys, okay? Regardless, he's a great fighter, and he's a proven fighter, and I personally believe that he has championship capabilities, okay? There's one more thing that I want to mention about Caio Borralho, and I think this is very important to note. Just with the last card that we watched, well, depending on when you're watching this video, I'm talking about UFC 319, the Duplessis versus Chimaev card. He was the backup fighter for this fight. He just cut weight. He cut weight, and here he is fighting just a few weeks later. I don't know how that's going to affect him. We've never seen him do that before, but fighters do have a history of having bad weight cuts. They get drained a lot. It could take away from his performance. It could make it a little bit more difficult for him to cut weight again after going through that again. It could lead to chin issues. It's important to note. I'm not saying it will affect him. It's just something that we need to keep into consideration when we're talking about Caio Borralho. Keep into consideration that he just went through a weight cut. We've seen that be problems for fighters before. Guys, I think this is a coin flip fight. I think that these are 2 excellent contenders, and I think that both of them could take on, like, I don't know. I'd probably pick Chimaev to beat both of them, but I think that both of them are, like, if they were to fight 10 times, they'd go 5-5. I think both of them are excellent fighters. I don't think I can pick against the Fighting Nerd right now, but Caio Borralho's been out for a little bit, man. We haven't seen him in about a year ago. Nassourdine Imavov, he's been fighting pretty good, and he's been beating some pretty good competition. Like, and people like to talk about the Jared Cannonier bout. It was a good stoppage, okay? Like, he won that fight too. You know, Nassourdine Imavov has been really clipping people. You know how I mentioned that Caio Borralho has a bad habit of dropping that hand? I can see Imavov being one of those guys that really capitalizes on something like that. Caio Borralho is exiting his prime. He's been training at a fantastic gym. Those guys have been just destroying everybody. So I almost have no reason to not pick against him. Again, I'm interested to see what the odds are. I think it's a coin flip fight, guys. Even like, here's the thing, like, I look at Caio, I go, okay, you know what? Maybe he could use his judo. Maybe he could use his BJJ. Maybe he can get the job done over Nassourdine like that. But Nassourdine does such a good job at just matching people at their strengths and sometimes beating them. Like, the guy knocked out Israel Adesanya in his last fight for, like, it's good, man. He's a really, really good fighter. I don't know. I'm going to pick Caio Borralho. I'm going to ride with the Fighting Nerds momentum over here. I worry about the weight cut. Both guys have been so important, so impressive. Such an important fight for both of them. Nassourdine Imavov fighting at home. This could go either way. There are so many different avenues this fight could go. And Caio Borralho, I'm going to pick. For the sake of the video, I'm going to pick. But this is another fight that I believe you should not be betting on. I like round lines for this because both guys are really, really tough. And we do have odds for this fight. Caio Borralho sitting at plus 115. Almost, we're getting towards a pick 'em, guys. So my thoughts are pretty on point here with this one. You can see an over 4.5. Really? You know, I don't mind this fight going to decision. I don't mind that at all. Both guys are really tough. I see some potential over there. I'm going to pick Caio for the sake of the video, but again, coin flip fight, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to watch some TikToks together, some great MMA TikToks, then check out this video on screen. I'd love to have you over there. Thanks for being here, everybody. Take care, guys.